Relationships are everything. I believe we are on this earth to love and connect with one another. And whether we're conscious of it or not, how and with whom we spend our time reflects what we value most. A book or a movie, coffee with a friend or liking a status update, writing a letter or sending a text. Our interactions today are done in snippets and snaps, texts and tweets, shortcuts and symbols, through screens and devices. Our communication is brief, superficial, and distracted. We're not even using full words. We're settling for mediocrity, valuing convenience over intimacy and speed over sentiment. Despite the impression that technology makes us more connected, studies repeatedly reveal the opposite, that people today feel less connected, more isolated and alone than in any previous generation. In our need for immediacy, we are sacrificing real connections. In our impatience, handwritten notes have been forgotten. How many Gen Zers even own stamps? In fact, going to the mailbox has lost its joy, filled with white envelopes of bills, coupons for car washes and coffee, flyers for driveway resealing, and credit card applications that we do not need. But now picture opening your mailbox, and inside you see a bright blue envelope. Can you feel your heart race with love and your cheeks stretch into a smile? Can you feel that thrill of wondering who it's from or of recognizing familiar handwriting? Maybe you open it right away. Maybe you save it for last, savoring the anticipation. All right, now go ahead, look at the return address. Feel your heart fill with love. Slide your finger under the blue flap and pull out the note. Read the words that were meant just for you. Receiving a note means not only that someone thought of you, but that they took the time to share something from their heart to yours. They signed it and sealed it and stamped it and addressed it and got it to a mailbox. And in today's digital instantaneous world, that is a solid show of commitment. Because it's become so easy to reach out via email or social media. But it's not enough to heart something. It's ordinary and overused. It doesn't let someone know what they mean to you. It doesn't repair divides or heal hurts. A letter coming through a screen is missing something. There's an inherent disconnect between the sender and the receiver. It's missing that special, personal, raw connecting power. When I was 12, I paid $1 to get a French pen pal. I still remember the address by heart, 9 Rue de Cibourol in Bordeaux, France. My pen pal Benedict wrote to me in English, and I wrote to her in French. We swapped maps of our towns and pictures of our families, writing all through high school and college, but never meeting until 7 years after our first letters were exchanged, when I flew to France to spend the month of July with her family. Since then, we've shared many special times together. She spent a summer with our family. I was the maid of honor in her wedding. Our kids and our parents have met. And just about a year ago, my husband and I flew to France to surprise her for her birthday. Coincidentally, today is her birthday. So a year ago, on a random Thursday night, with the help of her family, she came home from work to find us sitting in her kitchen. We're like sisters. Ours is one of my most cherished relationships. And it all began with letters. As the years passed and technology advanced, we too switched to texts and social media for sharing family news and quick hellos and happy birthdays. But the truth is that this precious relationship would not have been so without the foundation of decades of handwritten letters. And I know this is true because our sons, who have the best time and can't stop laughing when they're together, they don't stay connected on Snapchat or the video games they're both on. And my daughter and Benny's niece, they tried to have a little connection on Snapchat, but it fizzled, never going beyond the superficial. With the countless apps and platforms for communicating digitally, handwritten notes are endangered, precariously near extinction. The US Postal Service reports that correspondence mail is fading as a form of personal communication. In 2018, the average US household received one piece of personal mail only once every 10 weeks, 2.5 months. And that's down from once every 2 weeks in 1987. Handwritten notes are rare, but like so many rare things, they hold great value and worth. They're more meaningful and treasured than a text or an email. If you get a sweet text, how do you save it? With a screenshot saved to your camera roll with 14,892 other photos that you hardly ever look at? Does it ever become tangible? When's the last time you pinned an email to your refrigerator or thumbed through a box of really special texts? A kiss-blowing emoji does not feel the same and does not mean the same as a note that says, I miss you, and I want to be near enough to give you a kiss. A screenshot is not like notepaper that lets you hold and touch and fold the same paper that the writer held and touched and folded. With every stroke of their pen, something of the writer is passed along. Their style, their personality, their energy, a little piece of them is shared with you. And you can keep letters for longer than a lifetime, rereading them, reliving their memories anytime. Letters capture history and the culture of a time. They create a time capsule. Writing a letter is one of the most genuine and generous ways you can let someone know they matter. A handwritten note says, I care so much about you that I took the time to write down my thoughts and feelings so that you can physically hold them. And a kind note is inexpensive, but can be the most memorable gift. More valuable than an expensive purchase, because a note is the gift of your time. In a few minutes, I'm going to share with you some practical tips. But think now of the surprise you'll create for someone when they get your note. Picture your grandmother's face, your brother's smile, your friend's hand on her heart because she's so touched. And letter writing has many benefits for the writer too. It helps us to be mindful. It's really hard to multitask when you're writing a letter. And there's this sense of not easily being able to change or erase something we write. So we pay attention to what we want to convey. It's meditative, time to slow down, pause, and reflect. And by slowing down, it allows us to consider what matters. On paper, you're less likely to complain about the weather or your roommate's music or how badly you slept last night. Instead, it helps us to be authentic and honest and vulnerable, which isn't always easy, but it is always important in nurturing relationships. And writing a letter is like spending a little bit of time with that person, no matter how far away they are. And when we feel connected, it lifts us up. Studies show that writing by hand gives us lower stress, cognitive improvements, a better outlook, a more positive mood, more gratitude, sharper memory, and a better overall sense of well-being. Writing by hand adds balance to our keyboard-dominated lives. And like coloring, it reduces anxiety and brings a sense of calm. Besides all these awesome benefits, it's just plain classy. And at its heart, letter writing is sentimental and nostalgic and tied to tradition and history of staying connected to loved ones through times of war and long separations. So let me make it easier for you to join in the power of letter writing with a few practical tips. First, pick out a note card or a box of cards that makes you happy. Find something that reflects your style or that reminds you of the person you're going to send it to. And then you'll pick out stamps. The postcard has many great designs, but you don't even need to go to the post office. You can go to the grocery store, the drugstore, the card store. There is probably somewhere you go on a regular basis that sells stamps. And please don't buy just one, buy a whole sheet. Keep them with your note cards. Start collecting actual mailing addresses. Put them into your phone, in your contacts, where they're readily accessible. You may want to keep a running list of people who you'd like to write a note to. Or perhaps you want to pick a day, every January 1st, the 3rd of every month, or every Sunday, when you're going to sit down and write a note or two. Nearly a year ago, one of my dear friends lost her son. At the funeral, the pastor invited everyone there to send a letter to the family on their own birthday. And the result was a year of notes filled with stories and memories of their son, helping to hold them up and remind them of just how very many lives he had touched. That's the power of a letter. And it doesn't need to be long or fancy to be meaningful. It just needs to be from your heart. So if you don't already have somebody in mind, who could you write to, and what would you say? Well, write to express gratitude, to acknowledge someone's influence and impact in your life. Write to kindle a romance or to build lasting connections. Maybe there's something that would be hard for you to say in person, but that you really want to share. Avoid regret and write it in a note. Maybe you could write to your mom. When you go back from college after a break, go back to college after a break, leave behind a thank you note. Or write her a note after you've been up all night with your screaming infant. Write to your coworker who deserves recognition, or your children. How would your teenager feel to receive a note from you telling them that you're proud? What would it mean to your spouse or partner to get a note from you that didn't list groceries or to-dos? Write to your friend who you haven't talked to in a while who lives across the country, or across town, or across the street. And what about our friends who are struggling through divorce, cancer, loss of a parent or child? Write to them to help them, to encourage them through life's tough times. Write to let them know they're loved and thought of, and that in some small way, you are supporting them in their difficulties. Letters have the strength and power to heal and build relationships in a way that's more meaningful than anything with a keyboard or a screen. So now together, let's make a difference. If you write even only one note a year, I challenge you to handwrite and mail one today. I have note cards for everyone here to choose from. So get ready to take out a pen and write a note to someone you care about, to dare to connect in a timeless, powerful way, and to start a positive ripple effect in your world. Change your relationships with a pen and a stamp and one handwritten note at a time. Thank you.